Hi everyone. Today I wanted to talk about what makes it very, very difficult for us to be happy in relationships, and that is that we think that what we feel has to do with the person with whom we are. So, for example, if we feel in love, we attribute our feelings to the person with whom we are. If we feel the opposite of love, if we feel irritation, or if we feel, mistrust, or whatever it is that we feel, we also assign that to the person with whom we are. And what I have found in my own observations of my processes and working with hundreds of other people is that what we feel has a lot more to do with our own inner world than the person with whom we are interacting. So in a way, I can even say we're using the people with whom we're interacting as means to get in touch with the feelings that are within us. So for example, as a mother, I sometimes feel feelings of deep happiness thanks to some news from my children. And sometimes I feel distress or worry also thanks to something that's happening with my children. But when I start digging, I realize that for example, the feelings of happiness that I experience when I hear what we consider good news about my children, it's more that these good news that my child who is being happy in that moment is telling me are processed in my mind and hit the mechanisms in my nervous system that create or recover or recall the feelings of happiness that I am capable of. In the same way, when something negative happens, whatever I'm experiencing in my body. And even if we think that we know what the other people are feeling, if we suppose that the other person is feeling distress, for example, my child is feeling distress, what I'm experiencing in my body is not the distress that my child is experiencing. I'm experiencing my own reaction to the situation. So it gets much more complicated in romantic relationships, where some people provoke certain feelings of great joy in us, happiness, a kind of excitement, what we consider love. What we don't realize is that it's not so much this person that is making us feel anything. It is the combination of what is happening in our psychosomatic apparatus when we're in the presence of this person. So this person may have certain traits, or maybe there is something in their appearance, or there's some kind of a dynamic that we co-create together that send us back to the memories that are stored within us. Often it has to do with our attachment wounds or attachment experience in our childhood. So by the same degree, if our romantic partner is acting in a way that causes us any feelings of distress or feelings of unimportance or unworthiness, or perhaps feelings of betrayal, all that is happening in our own system. The other person is just being him or herself, and we're not talking about any moralistic judgments here. The other person is being who they are. They're not doing anything to us, and most of the time their choices are not conscious, because very few of us live consciously. So whatever the resulting feelings we feel, whatever is the resulting experience that's happening in our body, has everything to do with us and only very little to do with this person. So that's what's really hard for most of us to understand, because we were raised in an environment where we were held responsible for our parents' feelings and their reactions. For example, if our parents were angry or upset and kind of projected it on us, we assumed it. And so we started creating coping mechanisms like being a good girl or a good boy, so that we avoid our parents' rage and try to induce them to be happy in our presence. So we developed this very false sense of control, which we really don't have. And since then we think that it's our behavior or something about us that causes other people to feel or behave in a particular way. That is completely untrue. Each of us is responsible for our own feelings. Our feelings are a result of our own psychosomatic, psycho-emotional state. And although other people can be a catalyst or a trigger for our feelings, whatever it is that we're feeling in our body is ours. And that is what we need to think about. So when something unpleasant happens, what we consider bad, which is, also a very arbitrary thing, but that's for another time. When we sense that somebody did something to us that hurt us, even relationship advice, we love to teach people how to communicate. You hurt my feelings. And sure, we can always talk about something that we like or we dislike, but our feelings are in our own control. And it's not so much that we can prevent pain, that's not what I'm talking about, but we certainly can understand our reactions, process them, and then master them in a way where we become less dependent on other people's behavior for our own well-being. Our well-being, our ability to react to certain situations is completely in our control. Yes, it requires training. Yes, it requires ability to observe. Yes, it requires ability to regulate our nervous system. But ultimately, we are the masters of everything that's happening in our body. Of course, we need to become conscious and aware of these processes, because before we start feeling that we are in some kind of mastery. And it's also possible that, we are human and there are so many layers of wounding and conditioning in each one of us that it's possible that we never really quite master ourselves. And that's okay too. That's part of human experience. But I just wanted to kind of remind everyone that whatever other people are doing, they're just being themselves. And we can draw conclusions from their behavior about whether we want to remain with them or whether we want to, we can draw conclusions basically from their behavior, but we cannot really blame them for the feelings that arise in our bodies. The feelings that arise in our bodies are fully ours, that have mostly to do with something that has happened very long ago, much longer than the situation at hand. And so it's actually becomes very, very interesting when we start realizing that we own our own feelings, and then to become an investigator rather than blaming the other person for their behavior. We become investigator of our own inner world. And this is hugely empowering and brings results that are much more efficient than blaming and deflecting our feelings to other people. Because if we blame other people and we deflect our feeling onto this other person, we're then stuck in trying to change this other person's behavior. And that is completely out of our control, because other people may change, but only if they want to. And if they do not want to or don't feel inspired to change, they won't. And then our feelings will kind of be in perpetual dependence on their ability to change or their desire to change. When we realize that our feelings are ours, live in our body, and are fully in our control, that opens a door to self-knowledge and self-understanding, which then allows us to go within and explore and see where this pain is coming from, and learn how to regulate it, learn how to process it so that we're not slaves of other people's behavior, something that we completely, that is completely out of our control. So wanted to share this today. I hope it's helpful. See you next time.